Hello and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire. Thanks for stopping by. Today I have a really fun video for you on how to make your images literally pop up off your card. So when the person takes it out of the envelope, it pops right up. Just something really fun to do, especially on celebration cards. So you can see these balloons are raised up off the card, not just with foam tape, but really pops up. Now, I'm going to share a lot of different tips and techniques along the way, along with creating these colorful balloons and also the fun backgrounds. So let's get started with our balloons. I am using some die cuts some dies from Lawn Fawn. These are party balloons. I love this set of balloons. There are many balloon dies out there, but I love that this one has the strings included. So I have my big shot here and I'm going to die cut a bunch of balloons. I decided to go ahead and make a bunch of cards all at once. I always need birthday or celebration cards. I am using some mint colored cardstock, just some scraps that I got out of my scrap drawer, and also some coral colored cardstock. Now these balloons are kind of boring as is because they're just one solid even color. I wanted to add some faux dimension to this, add some shading. The fastest way to do this is with distress inks and an ink blending tool. I'm using two of the newest colors of distress inks from Ranger. This is the Abandoned Coral, which I just think is gorgeous, and I'm using my ink blending tool. The best way to do this is start off of the paper and slowly swirl your way onto the paper. This prevents any strict lines of the color and really gets really good blending. So you see I start off the paper and work my way on. Now on the top right of the balloon, I'm only putting a little ink up against the edge, but on the bottom left of the balloon, I'm putting more color just to add some depth down there. I love that when you take the ink off the paper and then slowly work it onto the paper, you end up with a really dark edge, really distinct edge. And I just think it's absolutely beautiful and takes no time at all. It would have taken me about 10 years to do this with Copic markers. So there I kind of gave some life to that plain, simple die cut. And you can see the difference here. If you wanted the color to stay softer, you could just use less pressure when applying it. Next, I'm going to do the same with the mint colored balloon, and this is the Cracked Pistachio Distress Ink. Ranger has started to release one new color of Distress Ink each month, and this was January's ink, and then the Coral was February's ink, and I just love that they're adding more colors to the collection. Now you can see this time I'm putting less ink down so I have a softer results, but you could really easily control how dark or how light this is by how much pressure you put on. But definitely the trick is to start off the paper and slowly work your way onto the paper with a swirling motion. So there we have this balloon done, and you can see the difference between how it started and how it is after we added all of the ink. Now distress ink stays wet for a little bit, so I'm just going to go ahead and heat set it so that I don't have any trouble adding any glue to this to glue our little die cuts in place. So I always like to kind of heat set my distress ink. It does dry on its own, but this just speeds things up. So now it's time to do our die cuts that go on top of these balloons. Now I have picked a few different die cuts. I thought I'd show you where they're all from. This is a Little Bee die set. It has lots of sentiments, and I chose the celebration from it. You could find lots of sentiments in this set alone, but I decided to use a few others. This is a baby die from Simon Says Stamp. Then we have Happy from an Ellen Hudson Essentials by Ellen die set. This is actually a Christmas set, but the word happy works all the time. Then I have this fun, really detailed Congrats from a Simon Says Stamp set. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and die cut these all from black cardstock, but I wanted it to have a shine to it. So I think it's easiest to do this before you die cut. It saves a lot of time. I just pressed Versamark ink over the entire piece area of this black cardstock, and I'm adding clear embossing powder to the whole area, and then I am heat setting it with my heat gun. This results in just a shiny finish on that cardstock, and then I can die cut this, and then all my little die cuts will have that nice shiny finish. You could die cut it first from the cardstock and then add the embossing on top, but this really just saves a lot of time since we're doing all 4 die cuts this way. Another way I'm saving some time is I'm putting all my dies down on the paper and running it through my die cut machine at once, so they're all cut at one time. So now that I have all these intricate little dies, I need to adhere them to my balloon. This is one way you can go about doing this, and I really like this method. I'll link to a video that shows other ways of adhering intricate die cuts. I have a piece of Post-it tape, the sticky side is up, and I laid my die cut halfway on it upside down. So this just holds it in place as I apply adhesive to the back. I am applying some Ranger Multi-Medium, which is a matte finish adhesive, and I'm just putting tiny little dots all over the back of this die cut. I have put a precision tip on the top of my bottle, and I will also link here to a video where I show how to do that. It's really easy and makes a big difference with this adhesive. So once I've put enough adhesive on the back, which by the way, this is a super strong adhesive, so I can be sure that it stays secure in the mail, I'm picking up that whole piece of tape and transferring it onto my die cut. Having that tape on the back of this die cut really helps with this intricate die that would want to flap and move around as I pick it up. You could try using washi tape or painter's tape for this also, or a Post-it note. And there we have our die cut perfectly positioned on our balloon. I really find that using a piece of tape to kind of hold your die cut in place while you're putting adhesive is really helpful when you have these intricate die cuts. Now you could put any adhesive you want to on the back of this. You could use some dry adhesive or whatever liquid adhesive you like, and that die or that tape will still help with holding it in place and helping you transfer it onto your paper. You could also put a thin double-sided tape on the back of your die cut before you die cut it, but this tape really still helps with making sure that it gets lined up when you put it on your project. So now that I have all my sentiments on my balloons, it's time to put the little strings on. These little strings and pieces were cut from that same Lawn Fawn die set. I just love this set. Now I've put the little bit of string on the front that looks like the knot of the string. Then the string hanging down, I'm just going to put a little bit of that super strong adhesive on the back of the balloon and then lay this on it. Now that will actually end up being pretty secure because that is such a strong adhesive. That's one of the reasons I like using that strong adhesive. I can trust it will stay put. So now I need to create my background so that we have something to put these balloons on. I have lots of white cardstock cut here to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to do 2 different backgrounds here, actually 3 different backgrounds. This one is from Little Inkers, and it just puts like a faux stitched pattern on this white cardstock. So we're not actually cutting through the cardstock completely, it's just putting like a stitched pattern into it. And I just think this is a great way to add some interest to a plain white background. For another background, I'm using the Memory Box star background that you see here. And look at, there's some stars that cut and then some open stars on the die that actually will dry emboss, which I'll show you in a moment. I'm just taking my white cardstock. I'm going to tape this in place so it doesn't shift when I run it through my die cut machine. And I'm just going to run it through my die cut machine as I normally would. And this will cut those stars that were raised cutting lines on the die. This is just such a fun background, and I'm going to actually put this up against a white piece of cardstock, so you'll have little star windows. So you can go through and pop out all of those little stars, and it also does little dots too, which I just think is so much fun. Now another way you can use this die is to cut and emboss. So I'm going to do this again. This is for another background. I have another piece of white cardstock. I'm going to run it through my die cut machine. This will cut all the stars first. So I have it taped in place. We want to keep that tape on there. So I'll run it through, and this has cut our stars. Now we're going to run it through again, but this time with an embossing pad. You could skip this if you wanted to. I have my multi-purpose platform. I'm going to flip it to tab 1. I'm going to put down a cutting plate and then an embossing pad. This one is from Spellbinders. Then I will take my die with the paper still in place and lay that face down, and then a cutting plate on top. Now the sandwich I'm using with my plates is the same that I would use for an embossing folder. So if you have a different machine, you just run this through with the embossing pad as you would an embossing folder. When you take it out, check it out. You have the die cut stars and some embossed stars in the background. It's just beautiful. Great way to add some interest to plain white cardstock. So now I need to glue these backgrounds onto some white note cards. So I have some top folding white note cards that I created that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to glue this right down onto the card so that it's white on white. Now I had trimmed down my star piece here a little bit, thinking that I wanted some of the edge of my note card showing, but I changed my mind. So I'm gluing this just up into the top corner of my note card, and I'm going to trim off the excess. So my final card will actually be a little bit smaller than a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch note card, but I really didn't want to go back and redo all of those backgrounds. So sometimes you just go with what you got. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same with the other backgrounds onto a white card so that we're ready to add our balloons. So it's finally time for the fun part, to add some fun pop-up action to our die cuts here. Now I have 2 different ways of doing this that I wanted to show you today. The first is with a product that you buy. This is an Action Wobbler. It's such a fun product. I've used this many times in the past. You glue one side of it to your die cut, one side of it to your card, and it has a spring inside of it that doesn't have that much dimension that allows the die cut to pop up off the card and kind of wiggle and shake around. Now, when you put this in an envelope, it actually is very flat. The way they've designed the spring, it doesn't add that much dimension to your card, but it adds so much fun and interest to it. So you can watch how it just pops up and shakes around. I love these guys, and they're very inexpensive, so it's a great thing to have on hand for fun cards like this. Now, if you don't have the action wobblers, I wanted to show you a way to create your own. Now, it won't wiggle and shake around like the action wobbler. However, it will add that pop-up feature. Another nice thing about making your own is you can control how much it pops up, and I'll show you that. So I have some white cardstock. This is just some scrap white cardstock, and I'm going to put 5 score lines a 1/2 inch apart from one edge. So I'm just using my trimmer and a scoring tool to score these 5 lines a 1/2 inch apart. But you could use a scoring board if you want to. I just assume use my trimmer. It's just as much easier for me. So then after I've scored my 5 lines, I will put a cut 1/2 inch from the last score line to cut that off. So now I'm going to turn this and I'm going to cut little 1/2 inch strips from this. Now you could cut a bunch of them and save them on hand for future cards, but you need 2 per card. So now I'm just going to accordion fold each of these strips. And again, I'm going to use 2 of these on one card. It really helps to make sure that our balloon pops up but doesn't kind of fall flat on our card. So I have these 2 pieces accordion folded. Now we need to put adhesive on the 2 ends of both of the pieces. So I'm basically unfolding our little accordion pieces and putting adhesive on the 2 end flaps on both of the strips. This is kind of like we're creating our own springs, like you can get with Action Wobbler, but you're making your own out of cardstock. So I'm going to glue one towards the top of the back of our die cut and glue the other towards the bottom of the back of our die cut. Now the adhesive is already there on this other end that's sticking up here, and so we can just take it and put that onto our card. So I'm kind of fold them down here and then press them right on to the front of our card. And this allows the die cut piece to really pop up. So you'll see that this just shoots right off of our card, pops up quite a bit because we put so many accordion folds in those pieces. So this is fun because when you take it out of the envelope, it just pops right up. Now I wanted to show you how you can make it so it doesn't pop up as much. I cut 2 more strips from the accordion folded paper that we created earlier. And this time I'm going to cut some of it off. So they're a little bit shorter. So there's actually only 3 folds in it instead of 5. This will keep it from popping up too much. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this one, and then I'll trim the other. And again, we will put adhesive on the 2 flaps at the end of both of these accordion pieces and glue it to the back of our balloon. So this will still pop up, just not quite as much. And I think this one's actually probably a better option because it doesn't add too much dimension behind your die cut. So it'll still go through the mail okay. I think it would be fun to put one of these, say, on maybe a gift bag or a wrapped present, just something fun and different. And remember, you can put these little pop action springs behind a stamped image that you've cut out too. So now that I have these glued on the back of my die cut, I'm just going to kind of hold them down and place it right onto my card. And you can see that fun background on that card. I just think it's so interesting. By the way, if you don't have those big dies to create these backgrounds, you could use an embossing folder on the back of these cards also. So there you can see the little bit of dimension that you get from it. I just think this is so much fun. I love how it just pops right up and is great for these celebration type cards. So here you can see the difference. The one on the left has that action wobbler in it, so it shakes and wiggles. And the one on the right just pops up. It doesn't shake because that's the one that we made by hand. I also wanted to show you how this pops up when you take it out of the envelope. So it goes into the envelope just fine. You'll be able to see here that there isn't that much dimension added to it. This is the action wobbler one. It doesn't add too much dimension. And when you open up the card or the envelope and take out the card, it just kind of pops up and starts wiggling. I just think that's so much fun. So there you have a way to make your images literally pop off your card. If you have any questions or you're interested in the products I use, you can check my YouTube description below, or you can go over to my blog at jennifermcguireinc.com where I'll have much more information. Thanks for watching.